Hi, this is Gary. Welcome to my Pens in Use wrap-up for November 2020. In this video, I'm going to look back at the 7 pen and ink combinations that I selected at the start of the month, and then we're going to rank them from number 7 through to number 1. Join me down on the mat as we start to do this ranking. So here we are down at the mat. Here's the 7 pen and ink combinations that I started the month with. The Platinum Preppy with Robert Oster Terracotta, a PenBBS 268 with Noodler's Apache Sunset, a Moonman M800 with a Bock nib which had Robert Oster Australis Oak, a Parker Sonnet with Colorverse Dark Energy, a TWSBI Eco with Pilot Iroshizuku Shin-Ryoku, a PenBBS 487 in Cordierite with Colorverse Supernova. I've spent all month calling this a 467, but it's not, it's a 487. And a Sailor 1911 Junior Kurogane with Colorverse Greying. So now it's time to rank these. So I'm going to start off with my ranking of number 7 and then work backwards. So at number 7, I'm afraid I have to give it to the Sailor 1911 Junior with that Colorverse Greying. I haven't really been able to give this pen the justice it deserves. The pen arrived the day before it was picked, so I'd not really had time to play around with ink combinations in it. And what I've found is this ink in this pen just doesn't work very well. It's too light. I think this Colorverse Grey needs a medium nib, if not a broad nib, to really fetch out its true colouring. So unfortunately, it has to come in at number 7. Number 6, well, that goes up here to the PenBBS 268. If you haven't seen the video I've done about this, I will link to it in the notes. My biggest issue with this pen is the vacuum filling mechanism. It just stops the ink from flowing. It doesn't matter what I do, how far I've got that cap unscrewed, the reservoirs run out of ink and the ink in the body does not flow down past the bottom of the plunger. So unfortunately, it was just a bad experience when I was writing more than a page or two. And that's had to impact it. At number 5, well, surprisingly, it's the Moonman M800. I love the Moonman M800 pen. I love this pen. It writes really, really well. What I don't like in it is actually this ink. The ink itself looks really nice. But what I was finding is after I'd written a couple of sentences, the ink would start to dry up and we'd end up that it was going really, really pale. I'd then have to leave it for a few minutes and it would start writing again. I just think this ink and this pen just don't work well together, but it did affect the scoring. At number 4 is the TWSBI Eco with that Pilot Shin-Ryoku ink. Not really much really to say about this. It's lovely. It's really nice to write with. It's a really nice combination. I just had to rank it somewhere. And unfortunately, when I come to the top 3, it wasn't really in the same league. So it comes in to number 4. At position number 3 is up here. It's actually that Platinum Preppy with the Robert Oster Terracotta ink. For a $7 pen, it writes beautifully. You know, the ink, it goes on and on and on. I think that's in part because it's got that fine nib. It flows well. I've had no problems with it. It writes really well. If I have to criticise it, it's too light. You know, it's plastic, it's an eyedropper, but there's no weight to it. So I find it uncomfortable if I'm writing more than a couple of paragraphs. Number 2, well, that goes to the Parker Sonnet. I've had this since about 2008. The ink in it is gorgeous. I love this Colorverse Dark Energy. What I've got at the moment is just a sample, and this is one where I can see me actually buying a full bottle. Why is it 2 then? Because I'm saying all these nice things. Even after just being left for 24 hours, it hard starts, and it takes about 9 words before it'll start flowing properly. Once it's flowing properly, it's beautiful. It's the most gorgeous ink, but it's just doing that and kicking it and getting it going. So that's got to impact the score. So that means number 1 is here. It's the PenBBS 487. Yes, as I've already said, I keep calling it a 467. It's not. It's a 487. The Colorverse Supernova ink, beautiful blue. It's not what I would call a schoolboy blue, but it's also not too turquoisey. It's just that nice balance between the two. There's nice shading depending on which paper I'm using it on. I would like to try this ink in a medium nib because I think it'll look even nicer. But from the 7 that I've picked, this was by far the pen that I reached to more often. And when I found that with the Preppy, the 268, the 800 and the Sonnet, they all ran out about 3/4 of the way through the month. It was this 487 that I reached to finish off rather than going for any of the other two. So my overall rankings for this month, at the top we've got that PenBBS 487, followed by the Parker Sonnet, the Platinum Preppy, the TWSBI Eco, the Moonman M800, a PenBBS 268 and the Sailor 1911 Junior. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What do you think of the rankings that I've come up with? Do you disagree with them? Do you agree with them? Please drop a comment below and let's kickstart the conversation. If you haven't already and enjoyed the video, well, give it a thumbs up. Like this video. The more likes and the more comments that I can get, the higher the video will rank in the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.